Okay, here we go. Good evening, folks. We appreciate the fact that you're able to join us, and I'm sure the time that we spend together will be worthwhile, and we're going to try our best to make it worthwhile. Welcome to the DeFi Collective. Our email is deficollective@gmail.com. We cover any and all to do with crypto, with decentralized finance, and with blockchain. So if this interests you, not just the money-making part, but how things work. We try to explain things in a way that someone who's not well-versed in the lingo will understand, and I think that's important. Today, we're going to talk about wallets, crypto wallets, yield farming, collateral, liquidity pools, and staking. And we will go through and we'll talk about exactly what they are, the nature, and then we're going to talk about significance. Now, I'm Robert Vaughn, and with me, as always, is Alex DeFi Jewel, or I can call him DeFi Alex, but Alex is a front-end developer who's been involved in blockchain and crypto for some time now. And he's kind of like the go-to guy. He's my go-to guy. So that's why he's on the show, and that's why I'm on the show. So I can present things and go to Alex. But let's get started. Okay, so crypto wallets. You know, a wallet is someplace you keep money. A crypto wallet is where you keep your crypto. Several different kinds of wallets. You know, you have what's called basically hot and cold wallets. Cold wallets or cold storage is a hardware wallet that exists independent of your computer or of blockchain. You know, you have a key that you use to access your funds on the blockchain. Am I doing good so far, Alex?
Well, the key is to access your wallet, and then the private key you have like a passphrase on the wallet, and then the private keys are how you own your crypto.
That's how you own your crypto, yes. And we have paper wallets, which is a printed QR code form of a wallet. You have what's called desktop wallets. They're software packs available for operating systems. You have mobile wallets for your smartphones, of course, you know, that they're convenient and they use QR codes for transactions. We have web wallets that exist on the web. And I think probably the safest wallet, the most secure wallet, is a wallet that exists independent of your computer, of the blockchain. And you know, it's called a cold storage wallet, which it looks similar to a jump drive. Alex actually has one. And this is how you access your funds. And that is actually a key. Of course, crypto exists on the blockchain, but that is the key to access and manipulate your particular crypto.
Right.
Alex, you want to elaborate on wallets a little bit?
Yeah. You know, when a lot of people start out, they're obviously not starting out with one of these, right? They're not even starting out with a decentralized wallet. People start out purchasing their crypto on essentially a centralized exchange. You know, something like Coinbase or Binance or even Cash App. These are all they're essentially banks again, right? We're recreating the idea of a bank because it's easy to get started and they have the capital for you to send them money and you trust them to say, okay, well, we're storing your crypto for you. Here's how much you have that we're storing for you, right? Now, this is really convenient and it gets people going. But it's not the goal of cryptocurrency. The goal of cryptocurrency is for you to fully own it yourself, to fully decentralize it. So I think the biggest differentiator between wallets is which ones are centralized, you know, sort of going against the grain of what cryptocurrency seeks to do in blockchain, and which ones are decentralized, right? Like my hardware wallet this is the true like decentralization of capital, where nobody can take this from me. Nobody can get into this without my 24-word passphrase. And it's permanently recorded on the entire blockchain that I'm the owner of it. And the private keys to do anything with my crypto are on this very secure device. And so that's the ultimate goal of cryptocurrency, is that regardless of if my computer gets destroyed, regardless of even if this itself gets destroyed, I can have recovery passphrases and I can be able to get to my crypto as long as I know what those recovery passphrases are. And I can then recover my private keys. And then I'm not relying on what we call central points of vulnerability, right? A central point of vulnerability is a Coinbase or a Binance or a Cash App that can be hacked. If somebody hacks them and drains all of our crypto from these from these exchanges, now obviously they have very secure, they have security measures in place that are world renowned of they're very trustworthy platforms. Don't get me wrong, but you're still trusting a central entity, for example, to decide if your credit card can be used to buy crypto, right? You're still trusting these companies to say, are you allowed to buy crypto on our platform? How much are you allowed to buy? What types of payment methods are we accepting for you to buy it?
If you want your money, how much we can give you.
Right.
Because sometimes they have daily limits.
Right.
Some of the limits are kind of high, but I mean, that's all a relative term. Yeah.
Right. So I have none of those on this. I have none of those on MetaMask, which is a Google Chrome extension, where you can connect to decentralized web pages using the decentralized wallet, and I can connect directly and I can make purchases using that decentralized wallet without any sort of bank or financial institution in the middle that decides if that transaction can go through.
And MetaMask, just so you know, is doesn't cost you anything.
No, it's free.
It's called a non-custodial wallet, and it takes about, I set one up, it takes about 5 minutes to set up. Yep. And I look at it as like the keys to the kingdom, Yeah. And there'll be some things that you do where you're going to need a MetaMask wallet.
NFTs, right? For example, you'll want to use like a MetaMask.
Right. So, wallets, probably the takeaway from wallets are you want to get something that's secure. Because one thing about cryptos, if you lose your passphrase or you lose, your access code or whatever, you might lose your money or you might not be able to access it. Now, I've heard there are companies that can maybe help you recover it, but I don't know if that actually really works. So you want to get, like Alex just showed, a cold storage wallet, and you want to write down your passphrase, write it down on a piece of paper, put it somewhere where you won't lose it, give a copy to someone, maybe put a copy, I don't know if you want to put it in a safe deposit vault, but you want to put it somewhere where you if you lose it in one place, you can go get it from another place.
Right.
Because your passphrase is sort of like your like your ATM card. Yeah. That's how you get your money and how you manipulate your crypto. So it's very important, and probably the number one important aspect of crypto is security. Mm-hmm. As with any money, you wouldn't leave $2 million sitting in a shed somewhere. You'd have it in a vault with, probably security devices around, and it would be steel, So the same thing with crypto, and with, a cold storage wallet, that's kind of like, having your money in a vault somewhere where it's safe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the caveat always is, mm-hmm, when you take more ownership over your assets, it's obviously going to be more secure, but it could potentially be more secure from yourself, right? And so the caveat is that what cryptocurrency does is it demands that we be a little bit more cognizant and a little bit more secure in how we manage things, right? It puts a lot of responsibility on us as people. That's for many people, that's an okay trade-off to gain the ownership back over our finances.
Right.
But it means that, like, hopefully in the future we'll have some solutions to this, but with like your bank now, you can forget your password, you can lose your card, you can forget your own name, and you can still call them and like somehow manage to like get back into your account and like get your ownership back, right? But at the end of the day, you're not actually getting your ownership back. They're just authenticating that you're the right person to look at the information about the money that they're storing that's yours.
Right.
So.
Now, we have a question on Facebook. Someone asks if this person has a Coinbase account, and she wants to know, how does she transfer her money from Coinbase to a hardware wallet?
Yeah. Everything works off of an address. So when I go into Coinbase, and I tap on, like, let's say Bitcoin, and I tap on my like BTC wallet, there's like a little send button. Like it's like a paper airplane icon in the top right corner. And what that paper airplane icon does is it says like, okay, how much do I want to send? And then the very next step is going to ask for the address that you want to send it to. So when you have your wallet plugged in, you're going to click on like the QR code looking thing. You're going to copy the address that you're sending it to, and you're going to paste it in the to field. It's almost like sending an email, right? You're like making sure that obviously it's not as legible as the email because you're pasting a hashed address on a blockchain, but you're copying the address of the wallet you want to send to, and you're pasting it in the box that you're of the to field that you're sending your crypto from Coinbase.
Okay, all right. So you may not, when you start out, most people start out without a wallet, offline wallet, but eventually you want to get one. You want to get a cold storage wallet because crypto is here to stay. Blockchain's here to stay. It's not going to like go away next year like it was never here. It's here to stay. So be a little proactive. These are things you're going to need, down the road.
There's also a wait list right now for many of the really good wallets. And so if you see it in the future, maybe the next 6 months or something, you're going to have more money in it. It's a good thing to kind of get in now, like kind of get your name on the wait list now, so that you'll have it. Yeah.
Right. Also, when you buy a wallet, you want to get a wallet from the manufacturer that makes the wallet.
It's very important. Yeah.
Don't get it on a website from someone that's a reseller, because someone could typically hack into the wallet and enter some code and says, every time Alex sends money to himself, send me $5. And it may be, you might not notice it, and they may say, every time Alex sends money to himself, send me all of it.
Yeah.
So
or I've heard they'll have like if statements where only the big transactions. So if you do a transaction over a certain amount, all the smaller ones might have seemed fine to you. You have no idea, and you got to move a larger amount, and all of a sudden that goes to somebody else, and you don't know who it is. It's gone. It's gone forever. So
it's pretty much gone. Yeah.
You got to avoid. Don't even get it on Amazon, because Amazon can still work with third-party retailers, and they don't always know where it's coming from. And so if it's coming from one of these third-party retailers, they happen to be a small shop in China or somewhere, and all of them are they have a virus on them or malware. You don't want to take that risk. So you want to go directly to ledger.com or trezor.com. You want to go directly to the manufacturer of the hardware wallet and buy directly from them. It's the only safe thing to do.
That's important. Money's hard enough to make, and you don't want to make it and give it away, unless you want to give it to Alex or myself. That's okay. Otherwise, you probably want to keep it. Okay. So wallets, and again, if you have any questions, you can reach us by email at the DeFiCollective@gmail.com. DeFi is short for decentralized finance. So the DeFiCollective@gmail.com. Okay, next we're going to talk a little bit about yield farming. Yield farming is, it lets you lock up funds, and in turn, you take some money that you're not using, you set it over here, and you let someone use it, and you kind of lock it up. And you may not necessarily let somebody use it, but you kind of lock it up, and you get a reward for doing that. It's a process that lets you, earn fixed or variable interest. It's like lending your cryptocurrency via the Ethereum network. When loans are made, by banks, the amount is paid back with interest. Yield farming, the concept is the same. When you loan your money or you yield farm money that would just be sitting there and not doing anything. Say if you got 50 Bitcoin, maybe you take 10 or 20 and say, well, I'm going to use this to make a little money, and you maybe yield farm with it, depending upon your comfort level. And you make a little money. Alex, you want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. So yield farming really took off this the summer of like 2020. We call it DeFi summer. It's really when this stuff took off. DeFi summer. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, we've talked about DeFi before, but really DeFi is decentralized finance. It's recreating a lot of the functions of the bank in a decentralized way. Now, the challenge there, of course, is that banks do typically have capital, or they can at least pretend to have capital, right? They can say, yeah, you can get a $10 million loan and whatever. But the difference here is in the crypto space, we're all the network. We're the bank. Everybody who uses it is the bank. So if you want to get a loan or you want to be a lender, well, we need a platform to do that, right? And what DeFi does as a concept, these platforms recreate the systems required for banking activity to happen. Mm-hmm. In other words, your typical like lending and borrowing and things like that. Now, how do we have enough capital to lend? Well, people store them up. They store up the capital in what are called pools. And what yield farming is then is, let's say I'm a lender, or even in some cases a borrower, and I'll talk about that in a second. But as a lender, I want to make some extra money. But let's say I want to always chase the best rate of return. So yield farming has this underlying concept of crop rotation. In other words, you're moving your money around, chasing the best rate of return. And some of these platforms actually give you the tools necessary to be able to do that, to sort of see like, okay, well, this week I'm making, 100% over here. Next week, I might see something that's 287% return, and I'm like moving over there, right? So that's yield farming, is chasing that rate of return. You're moving your funds around, you're swapping tokens between protocols and things like that. There's essentially like three different strategies. Like we said, lending and borrowing. There's supplying capital to pools. In other words, liquidity pools. You're providing the capital. Or there's actual like staking. So that's one type of staking. And the other type of staking is staking the actual lending protocol tokens themselves. So most of these lending protocols, in order to incentivize people to use them, created their own tokens, the governance tokens. And these governance tokens are sort of like, they're sort of their own currency that they use on the platform. And as more interest raises on the platform, the market cap for that raises and the value of those tokens raises. So interestingly enough, if they want more people to borrow from the platform, right? Because you can't just have a bunch of lenders. If they want more people to borrow, this happened with Compound earlier on. Borrowers were incentivized with comp tokens. So there were borrowers who were making more money by borrowing. So, this is the DeFi land where just like it's the Wild West. You see crazy things happening, and all of it's real money though. Like this is real value that's happening where people are getting out loans and they're doing things with those loans and they're paying them back. And you have the people, not some centralized bank. You have other people who are supplying the capital for those loans to be carried out, and people are getting paid out in interest, APY, in order to do that. And on top of that, which is an exciting thing, this is never possible with banks, you have individual tokens for each platform that incentivize and give even more value to all of those different functions. So it's really an exciting time.
So at any particular time, different tokens might have a different interest rate.
Right.
And what you want to do is educate yourself and find out where you can get the best deal, or you want to find a platform that has an algorithm that'll do that for you. Right. That's even better.
Yep. Do the farming for you.
Yeah. So, now we talked a little bit, as long as we're on the staking wagon. Staking is when you lock up your funds in a cryptocurrency wallet to participate and maintain the operations of a proof of stake based blockchain system. Now, Alex, talk a little bit about what a proof of stake versus a proof of work blockchain system is, because this is important.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what made like some of the first blockchain solutions like Bitcoin very secure is the fact that it's what's called proof of work. It's proof of work because it's really hard work. Every time you make a transaction, it verifies that transaction across the entire chain. Every single block is verified in order to verify that one transaction is correct. This is sort of an unbeatable system, right? It's slow and it's inefficient though. And so what proof of stake does is it incentivizes staking so that you have stability in parts of the chain that mean it doesn't need as much verification. And so the verification process goes across headers and it goes across where the actual like transactions are happening instead of having to verify across the entire chain. This is obviously much more efficient, right? It's a system that automatically decides where verification is necessary in order to still absolutely verify the transaction. So it incentivizes, like I said, to incentivize that, you'll often get APY from the platform for the staking, which is really cool.
Okay. And staking would be something you want to do if you've got crypto just sitting around.
Right.
Like I do sometimes, waiting for it to go up and watching it.
Right. Might as well have your crypto making more crypto.
Yeah, you could have your crypto working for you.
Right.
So you might, you say, well, I got 50 coins here. I'm going to take 20 and stake them and earn some money from doing that.
Right.
Because the people that borrow will pay some interest, and some of that will go to you.
Yeah.
And you can it's not unusual to get 100% interest per year.
So yeah, some of these, I mean, honestly, over the summer, some of them were 2,000, 4,000%. I mean, those are higher risk because those could also, all these strategies change over time. But, staking doesn't always have to do with lending either. Sometimes staking is just for stability of a chain. It's for stability of the platform. But it's obviously really useful in terms of lending and borrowing too.
Yeah. And if someone pays you 100%, they're getting more than that. So, with particularly last summer, with the way, Bitcoin and Ethereum and, everything was kind of going up. And that's why you could get some pretty crazy, interest rates. So staking is probably something you want to kind of research. It's not something that if you're just starting out, it's probably not something you want to just jump into, because you want to know a little bit about, where you're going to put your money. You want to know a little bit about the system and how the system works, because it's a new it's a new financial system, you know, and that's what I do a lot of, is like researching, you know.
Yeah.
What is this? What is that? And you have to you have to kind of like, you know, you have to do your research. You
Right.
know, it's like
You
if
can't
somebody
get off
tells
the,
you, yeah, if somebody
can't
tells
get
you,
off
well,
the
you know,
highest.
um, Chase Bank is giving 912%, you know, well, you wouldn't just put your money there. You want to go find out, okay, how are they getting it? Where are they putting it? Who's paying it? How secure is it? You know, what is a wallet secure? Is my money going to be there when I need it? You know, so the
Yeah.
same thing with crypto. You know, you want to use common sense and sort of do your research.
Yeah.
Also, staking. Let's talk a little bit about liquidity pools.
Yep.
Liquidity pools are pools of money that people may stake, and they're necessary to ensure that for everybody that's staking money, when they want their money back, there's money there to do that. There's money there to make loans. There's money there to pay interest. So a liquidity pool is a pool of money that sort of kind of makes the system go.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
the Federal Reserve Bank and, you know, the deposit, FDIC, everything wrapped up into one. And they call it a liquidity pool is what it's
Right.
like.
Yeah, that's sort of an umbrella term for sure, because they all have different purposes, right? You
Right.
might have a stable coin to ERC20 Ethereum network coin. You might have a network coin, Ethereum network ERC20 coin to an Ethereum ERC20 network coin pool. The point often for these pools is literally just the ability to swap. So if, let's say I have 20 Ethereum and I want to swap 20 Ethereum for 20, I don't know, Chainlink, and I don't know where to get it. I don't want to go to an exchange and buy it. So I go to something like Uniswap. And in Uniswap, I can say, well, here's my 20 Ethereum from my MetaMask wallet. I would like however much that equals in Chainlink back. But that Chainlink has to come from somewhere, right? So if I'm swapping, where's the swap token coming from? It's coming from liquidity pool. And so you have to incentivize liquidity pools, and you incentivize liquidity pools with, you know, interest on those liquidity pools. And the way that something like Uniswap works is it charges like a 0.03 or 0.3% interest on or fee on the transaction. For the sake of how convenient that is, I'm paying a transaction fee. It's not going into the pocket of somebody to make them really rich. That 0.3%, a really small amount, is going to pay for the incentives that keep the liquidity pools active.
Right. Talk about Ethereum 2.0. You know, Ethereum 2.0 is a cryptocurrency platform. It differs from Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not actually a platform. It's a token that exists on a platform.
Right.
Ethereum is a platform that Bitcoin and other coins exist on.
Right.
It's, you know, it's I think it's a great place to put money. It kind of follows Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up, Ethereum kind of goes up. So it's kind of like I don't want to say like the bond market, but it kind of, if the coins do good, Ethereum does good. But it's sort of like you know, if more cars get sold, then, you know, the toll plaza collects more money. You know, because there's more traffic, you know.
Right.
So that's kind of how it works. It's the second most popular cryptocurrency to Bitcoin. And Ethereum is a place where a lot of people stake. To stake, you need a minimum of 32, what they call ETH. And let me just check the price real quick. So ETH right now is, one ETH is $1,590. So if you wanted to stake, you would have to have 1,590 times 32. So you'd have to have roughly $51,000. in ETH, in value to stake on Ethereum. Now, is it possible to stake with less than that, Alex?
Yeah, so using the DeFi protocols, like there's tons of DeFi platforms where you can stake any Ethereum you want, and you'll just earn interest. Whatever the interest is on those platforms, you'll earn it on however much ETH you're staking, right? Now, what's really cool about Ethereum 2.0 is that staking will be baked in because it will be proof of stake as a platform. Ethereum previously was proof of work like Bitcoin. Now, the difference between Bitcoin and even Ethereum 1 is that I like to think of it like Bitcoin was an app and Ethereum's like an app store. The point of Ethereum was not to have one utility, whereas like Bitcoin, the utility is storage of wealth, right? I wouldn't even say Bitcoin is useful for everyday exchange. I think Bitcoin is kind of like the gold of the crypto world. Whereas Ethereum came out with this idea of smart contracts. In other words, having exchanges that have an actual contractual agreement along with them. And it provided the development community and the platform for all these other apps, thousands of them at this point, to use that methodology and use the network to carry out whatever function they have. So this has become really powerful for Ethereum. But one problem, of course, is that all of it's on the Ethereum mainnet. It's on one blockchain and that same network for all of these apps. And that's obviously become a very high traffic problem. And in that high traffic problem, we've come to very high expenses in terms of what are called gas fees. The gas fee, I think we've talked about it before. But a gas fee is just the price of doing business, right? It goes to the highest bidder to process a transaction for whatever miners are up. And when that transaction gets verified, it gets processed, that gas fee goes to the miner that processed that transaction. This has become very expensive because obviously high demand, equals high cost.
The gas fee is sort of like the toll on the toll road.
It's the toll, right?
That you pay for using the road, yeah.
Right. So Ethereum 2.0, there's lots of solutions here in Ethereum 2.0, the main one being proof of stake. We're moving away from proof of work where we have to process every single transaction for all of those apps against the entire Ethereum network. And it'll greatly make all of that more efficient and most likely reduce gas fees in the process.
Right.
So there's
also transactions will happen a lot quicker.
Right.
With proof of stake.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yield farming, staking, proof of stake wallets. We hope we've enlightened someone today. But as I said previously, crypto is here to stay. So if you have any questions, again, please email us at the DeFi Collective at Gmail, and we'll be more than happy to respond. But crypto is going to have a lot of impact, not just on the financial markets, but it's sort of we were on the gold standard for a long time, and now we're kind of like on the data standard, where it's digital data that where wealth exists. And I know, I hear, a lot of talk say, well, I'm more comfortable staying in the stock market and I'm not gonna, I like something concrete. I want to buy Ford because I know they make cars, and, Bob Evans serves food. So I know those are good blue chippers, and that's where I kind of want to stay, but a lot of the hedge funds and a lot of the Goldman Sachs just reopened their crypto department. So that should tell you kind of where their head is at, regardless of what they say. I can tell Alex, oh man, don't buy this, don't buy that, but I'm buying it like hell. But that volumes, yeah, that should speak volumes. So crypto is here to stay. It's in the early stages, but it's not going anywhere. But it's going to have a societal impact, I think, like sort of like slavery did. That was an economic system. Capitalism was an economic system. Mercantilism, the forerunner of capitalism, was an economic system. Feudalism was an economic system. It's kind of like capitalism's kind of like turning back into feudalism almost.
Yeah,
You got
it is.
3 or 4 people at the top, all the shot callers, and everybody else just follows the lead. But one of the things I think that crypto does, it's going to be kind of like the great equalizer, because one of the things that happens now, if you're on social media, is your data gets taken and it gets monetized. Your human experience, the pictures you post, the expressions you make, places you go, the things you say, and everyone has a profile where the data companies, Google, Facebook, kind of know how to push your buttons to get you to do certain things. They can make you vote in a certain way. They can make you show up at a certain place, and they're very good with this. If you want to do some research, read about Facebook's contagion experiments, how they can take Alex's attitude and give it to me, and I can say, well, I love San Francisco. And Alex would say, I hate San Francisco. And then they can actually take what Alex feels by controlling what comes on my feed. And pretty soon I'm like, I hate San Francisco, man. And they've done, this is a science, it's data science. This is a science. It's not just something that they're experimenting with. This is a developed science. And most of your data is acquired without your knowledge. Now, one of the implications of blockchain and crypto is that it kind of like takes the middleman out of the picture, because say, for instance, someone eventually will come up with a social network on the blockchain where there'll be no data, there'll be nobody pulling your data and your human experience and you selling it to advertisers. And
BitClout, there's this social network called BitClout that came out this week.
Spell that for us, Alex.
BitClout, BITCLOUT.
BitClout, okay.
Yeah.
BITCLOUT. Okay.
Yeah. Now it's come under some fire. There's a lot of people, obviously there's hot and cold opinions about it, but it's an interesting proof of concept. Every single person is issued their own personal token when they sign up, and that personal token based on their social activity has a value.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow.
it's a pretty interesting concept, right? So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. We'll see. They've tried decentralized social platforms before. Obviously, it just relies on a lot of adoption to work. But yeah, we'll have to see how, because I think that's definitely the direction that social media is heading in, is people want to own their online presence and be fully aware of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you don't want your information for sale. I mean, your personal experience, you don't want that for sale.
Right.
Yeah. So
without your consent or without your own benefit from it.
Without your knowledge or consent,
Yeah.
It'd be different if Facebook said, hey, Robert, we used a bunch of your data, man. Here's a check for $1,200
right.
for this week.
Yeah.
But that's
not how much you made off of your friends based on your data that, Yeah.
So I think blockchain and crypto is going to have a societal impact. And a lot of times when these things happen, you don't really see, when data analytics and surveillance capitalism first came about, nobody really saw what the downstream implications were going to be. And I think it's the same thing with blockchain. Same thing with cloning. Blockchain is it's a new science. That's crypto is a new development that's being adopted, and it's sort of in its infancy. So I think a lot of what happens is going to depend upon the protocols. It's got a great protocol now. Everything has to be verified. You know, and that concept can be applied to different things, like, you know, social media for one. Um, and I think there may be in capitalism, there's always, you know, how do we make money off of it? You know, it's never how do we benefit society? It's
Yeah.
always how do we make money? Or we can
Right.
benefit society with a liver transplant, but it's going to cost you 750 grand.
Right.
You're going to charge it twice in case you need another one.
Right.
You already have paid for it, you know. So everything is kind of, you know, is kind of tied to money and capitalism. And I think, with blockchain, with crypto, that's gonna change the nature of a lot of things in terms of how we interact and do business as society.
Yeah.
But expand on that a little bit, Alex. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, along the vein of like what we talked about today,
Mm.
just the access that people can have to traditional financial functions that the average person would never have access to.
Mhm.
The ability to earn this kind of interest. I mean, what's the going rate right now for just a savings account? It's like 0.1% or something.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
You know, and the bank is making
The
way more than that on your money
a
sitting
lot
there.
more than that. Yeah.
And so, you know, just the ability to have access to it, but the ability to make all these decisions for yourself without any sort of gatekeepers or anybody saying like you're not qualified to do that, like here, talk to our other guy who's going to try to sell you on this other thing. And like before you know it, you're walking out of a bank having talked to 4 different people with a new credit card, and you didn't get anywhere in terms of like, how do I actually turn how do I be smart with the money that I have? um, and this is something that no matter how much money you have, you should have access to. No matter how much financial history you have, like obviously you have to be smart in terms of what you're doing, and you want to make sure you're not being taken advantage of by a Ponzi scheme or something that tries to pretend to be useful for you. You have to be educated on this, but with that comes the potential to completely shift the direction of power. Because when every single person has the same access to capital, and the same access to interest rates, fair interest rates, for when they're saving money, for that saving money to be meaningful to them, and meaningful to their kids and their college funds and their retirement funds. When these things are meaningful to people and they're useful, and you don't need a bank in the middle profiting off of everything you do, that completely changes the fabric of society, right? That's huge, just in terms of the banking function. So when we talk about other stuff like art and music and all these other things, it just starts expanding, and it's super exciting to think about the future.
Right, right. For instance, you know, with music, you know, Alex writes a song on his guitar, and I want to listen to it, so I access on the blockchain, and every time I listen to it, he gets a half a cent. There's no label in the middle, you know, taking all Alex's money, you know, and he posts it up. I listen to it, and he gets paid. Now, I think one of the reasons why some of this technology is not moving as fast is because, you know, advertising is a lot of money is made through advertising.
Yeah.
That's the whole concept behind surveillance capitalism, is to access your human experience, you know, digitize it, uh, write an algorithm, and then sell it, you know, and say, you know, not only, you know, can I make Robert, you know, want a new Corvette, you know, I know when he gets his pension check, when he's retired, he's gonna get some money. Uh, he's closing out an account at Capital One. He's got enough cash to pay. And not only do I know that, but I can actually place him in a dealership, you know, the day after he gets his money. And I know his wife wants it too, so I can make sure she's there with him. And you'll have a pretty good chance of selling him that car.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of like how it goes, you know, because a lot of times I'm sure we've all done this. You go somewhere and you said, you know, I did this one time, bought a piece of jewelry, which is like, to me, it's like the dumbest place you can put money, you know, $5,000 or $10,000, but that's just me, you know. And after I got home and I said, what the hell did I just buy this thing for? I mean, what the hell was I thinking? And I just, if you talk about something on your phone, if you search it, on Facebook, if you search it on the internet, and then this watch I had been watching kept getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and then one day I'm in the vicinity of a jewelry store and it said it's like really, really cheap this weekend. And I just happen to have a little extra money. So I bought it. It was kind of dumb, So I think that happens a lot, Um, and it's not just impulse buying, it's that, you're being manipulated, you know.
Yeah.
Just like they can manipulate people to vote for a certain way or vote for a certain issue or a certain person. So this is now a science. But I think the impact that I see of crypto and blockchain is it going to take a lot of the middlemen out of the picture.
Right. Yeah. And I think, like I said, I kind of mentioned this earlier, it puts more responsibility on us. And I know this is hard because a lot of people don't necessarily want to meddle in too thick of the weeds for finances. But the problem is, before, let's say you would go to a broker or you go to some like trading expert, or you would fall for like a trading scam or something because you thought, oh, they're going to bring me returns because this guy knows what he's doing because he posted pictures of charts.
Mhm.
And people have fallen for this. They've been taking advantage of that system. They've been taking advantage of the Wells Fargos that put branches in the neighborhoods that they knew they could take advantage of, and set them up with new accounts they didn't need just to raise their own stock, and then charge them fees that they didn't know they were going to get charged. Like, these are the kinds of things that the trusted banks and the trusted financial experts and all these people have done to people. And at the end of the day, if we make things simple enough, if those of us who like build things can make them simple to understand, and we can really communicate the importance of that, of like you taking ownership over your own finances, then we've solved the problem, right? We've removed the need for these institutions that can take advantage of you. We've removed the need for all these individuals who can take advantage of you. And we've said, like, you can be the own proprietor of the money that you earn. And here are simple ways that you can, with that ownership, you can be smart about the future and where your finances go and how your finances reproduce and how you set up that college fund and how you set up that retirement fund, how you save up for that car, right? These are the tools that you can have ownership over, and you don't need anybody's help, right? You don't need to pay other people to do it for you, because this is the future of like you owning the money that you have. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And, a lot of the price that you pay for something is baked in with advertising, with, if you, for instance, when you buy a car, the dealer has to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Salesperson makes money. You have something called a dock fee. And I saw that on the back of a big boat one time, as dock fee.
Yeah.
It's like $250 here in New York. I think it's over $1,000, and you get nickel and dimed all the way up and down the line.
Look at your cable fee. your cable bill. Some of the fees in there are like mind-blowingly, like, you're like, wait a second, why am I spending $5 for like a piece of equipment that I own, or a piece of equipment that I have nothing to even do with? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
the best is an access fee.
Yeah.
You see a lot of access fees on various, things. So,
just in case somebody has to
had access when I signed up and gave you my money, and you
right.
$6 a month to have access. I mean, come on, and I think, when you take, and cable is a good example, you have, people, the middlemen in the middle, that everybody's got to tack on, it's kind of like, a music business. I have Vaughn Records, and I do a deal with Warner Music Group, and then Alex has his label, Alex Limited or something, and he does a deal with me. And then you have somebody else who has an artist and they have their label. So since I do it with Warner, they're going to get 50% plus, and then I'm going to make sure I get 20 to 30%. So Alex, there's only 10% left for you. And the label that actually has the artist, well, maybe they get 5%, and we'll give them a couple $100,000. and a new car and some other stuff.
Right.
You know,
They'll get some sushi platters.
yes.
You know, because we have to pay all the attorneys and we have to pay this like this this other company that like handles the advertising, and we have to pay like some subsidiary of like another company to handle like scoping out venues, and like, you know, the list starts multiplying of like the hundreds of people for like one artist that had to get paid out because of inefficiencies in the system.
Yeah.
Like cable, we're paying for their antiquated hardware.
Mhm.
And all they have to do is upgrade it, but they make more money if they don't.
They don't. That's true. Well, I see cable in the not too distant future, where, you know, now they have what is it, AT&T TV, where it's on the internet. It's you know, you kind of stream it from a box, but it's still really not that much cheaper. But I see cable eventually where, you know, a show may exist on the blockchain in the cloud, you know, and you want to watch CNN every day, you know, well, that's like, you know, 32 cents a day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
you watch it for as much as you want to watch it, and says, okay, so you like ESPN too, because you like Ohio State football or something. Okay, well, that's like a quarter every month or a quarter a week.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of takes the middleman out of the picture, and then the entity that's supplying the entertainment, they get all the money.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it also opens up competition, though. I think this is huge because a lot of people who advocate for capitalism, even the capitalism that we're dying in right now, they advocate for it because of competition. But then you look at the competition, and there's like 4 companies that are running everything, and they're destroying the little guys who are doing a better product or offering a better service. That's not competition.
that's not,
I think in order to have a truly free market where competitive competition drives it, you have to break up the power. Like you have to be able to equally distribute power and opportunity. So like, let's say in a decentralized TV world, where like smaller content creators like on YouTube and things that obviously have huge audiences, but nowhere near what these centralized, even worse platforms have. If you give that opportunity equally, where you're not just like, oh, we have a deal with these 5 TV companies for what everybody gets in their home. Well, now you change everything, right?
right, right. Yeah, and it makes I think blockchain has the ability to make a lot of these transactions more seamless.
Right.
You know, and the person who actually creates the program or who actually sells it, you know, is the one that gets the money. You know, business capitalism kind of exists so people can kind of insert themselves in there, you know, and you know, like if you buy, say for instance, you buy a piece of jewelry, well, the gold comes out of a mine, the diamond comes out of a mine, and then whoever takes it out, they make a little money. Then whoever cuts it, they take a little money. Then the guy that puts it in a ring, he gets a little money. And then the store, they triple the price of it that you pay.
It's a bunch of cartels.
A bunch of cartels, yeah, you know. And I think, you know, one of the someplace you may see this sooner than later is with the advent of, you know, electric cars. Because when you get electric cars, pretty soon the charging stations, you know, I foresee a day when charging stations are all over and there's no oil company that has to pay tax in 5 different jurisdictions, you know, that has to, you know, worry about this and worry about that. Because I think the price of a gallon of gas, it costs $3. I think only like 37 cents of that is actually for the gas. You know, it's like 11%, I think, is actually for the gas. And the rest are taxes and fees and transportation and, you know, with electric vehicles, you know, I see the day when you charge up your vehicle and then the money automatically gets transferred through the blockchain.
Right.
To whoever supplies the electricity.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of takes the more middlemen you can take out of it, the more I think efficient the system is.
Yeah.
And I think
Let's say you have you have like an EV coin or a fuel token or something, right? And like those are you automatically like figure those out. They're transferred when you use it. You have like a way to monitor how much things are costing based on your mileage. Like these things can all be automated and super seamless.
Right, right. And I think, it's not that I think the middleman is going to go away completely tomorrow, but I mean, there's some things, you need, if you put up a building, you need a construction manager.
Right.
But he's actually creating value. He's not walking around with a clipboard, just getting a paycheck,
Right.
And I think what it's going to force a lot of businesses to be more efficient,
Exactly.
more cost effective and more efficient.
Efficiency.
And I think it's going to force them to trim the fat.
Right.
Out of a lot of operations. I know when I worked at, I won't say the name, but I was a production manager at a major automotive manufacturer. And there were actually people in the plant that nobody even knew what the hell they did. And they're making 80, 90, 100 grand a year. And if you ask somebody, who do they report to and what do they do? And nobody could tell you. and it sounds crazy, but that was a fact,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, if a company's making a lot of money, they kind of overlook a lot, but I think one of the things that benefits of blockchain, and crypto is that it's going to take a lot of the middlemen out of the picture and kind of trim a lot of the fat.
I worked on a construction specific project. Actually, it's funny you bring that up, but like there's a crypto project. We're using the blockchain, the logistics of sharing foremen, sharing crews, and sharing construction equipment between job sites could reduce the cost of that construction by like upwards of 60%. And it was all the logistics of that were handled by blockchain technology. So that stuff is cool.
So get ready for it. Yeah. So I think, a lot of times, I could say we're on a data standard, and I'll just, every few centuries, we have an economic system, and an economic system, by its very nature, is also a political system. So every time an economic system changes, the government and the political atmosphere changes also. So I think one of the advantages that blockchain and that crypto has is more of an equalizer, I think.
Yeah.
Because nobody really knows, when you post your song, you don't know who's buying it, but everybody pays a half a cent to listen to it. And there's no middleman to jack up the price over here, over there. So I think it's a system that has more built-in equity, in terms of its societal impact. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's there's no limitations to how that can be set up. I mean, imagine a situation where, you pay a certain number of cents to listen to it, but let's say it's a few cents cheaper if you share the song, right? Like there's all sorts of like little changes that like we didn't have the infrastructure to do before. The centralized organizations didn't even care to do them. It didn't matter to them. But when the artist is in charge of their own ownership and the rules of the smart contracts, and all of a sudden everything relies and hinges on the network itself, the people that the network relies on, how people get paid, how their agreements are set up, and how everything works can be a lot more dynamic. So
yeah, it can, and it can be a lot more fair.
Right.
If there's a bigger demand for your song, perhaps yours costs 2 cents instead of a half a cent. Maybe mine's like 1/10 of a cent.
Right.
So there's a sort of built-in equity in leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
So. Okay, well, our time's up, but we certainly thank you for yours, and we appreciate you letting us into your homes, and we will continue every week, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's on Let's Talk Radio with a Y, RADYO, on YouTube. We broadcast live on Facebook. The DeFi Collective at gmail.com if you want to reach out to us. But we hope we've been able to help some people out. We'll be here every week. And again, I'm sure you have some more questions on crypto. the DeFi Collective at gmail.com. And if we don't have an answer, we'll get one for you. Yeah, I mean, wear your mask, stay safe. Any closing thoughts, Alex?
I think we forgot to mention a couple brands of the wallets. So if you are looking for a hardware wallet, I recommend the Ledger Nano, LEDGER, the Nano, NANO. There's two versions. There's the X and the S, I believe. One of them's cheaper. It has like less features, but it sort of depends on how much you want to do. But that's the one I recommend.
Okay. And what about Trezor? Is that wallet any good? Someone had sent in a question, so they got it.
Yeah. So Trezor's pretty comparable to Ledger.
Okay.
Trezor's totally fine also.
Okay. All right. So Ledger Nano, that's your wallet. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, until we meet again, enjoy your week, and we'll see you sooner than later.
Bye.
Take care.